Now that the final Smash Ultimate DLC character has been revealed, I want to rank every character from both Ultimate and Smash 4's DLC lineup. Okay, kinda in Smash 4's department. I do not intend to rank the 3 returning characters, as then I might as well just rank the entire Melee roster and then the entire Brawl roster. Yeah, I'm not doing that. If they're a new fighter that cost money when they released, they are eligible for this list. They did not have to be part of Fighter Pass 1 or 2, since Piranha Plant is arguably a Fighter Pass character. He just isn't part of one. And was also free if you bought the game in the first 2 months. Which, let's be honest, you bought the game in the first 2 months. But, yeah. Basically, just without further ado, let's get into Smash Ultimate's ranking. In F tier for Smash Ultimate is MinMin. MinMin has the disadvantage of being both a first-party character, absolutely nobody wanted, and also not being fun. Other characters that are not fun to face against, like Game & Watch, are at least fun to play as. I have never enjoyed a single match I have played as MinMin. She exists. Like, it's just hard when you have characters with such massive disjointed hitboxes. Like, don't get me wrong. She's not a projectile character, but she's also basically just a projectile character. Like, it's not like, oh, she has a big sword, which acts as a massive disjointed hitbox. No, she just is the entire stage. Like, say what you will about MinMin, but she's not fun. She's quite boring. Honestly, if it were a third-party character, I could see her easily being bumped up to D tier. But that's more of a also, it doesn't help. Nintendo characters usually get a lot less hype and are a lot less interesting to see as DLC. Because they're Nintendo characters. They were likely going to get into the game to begin with. And Nintendo had to put very little effort into putting them in. Didn't have to deal with legal trouble. So you could at least hope that a Nintendo character would be interesting. Although, like, my reaction to MinMin when it was an arms fighter was like, okay, it's MinMin. I'm glad it was MinMin. If we had to get an arms fighter, because MinMin is my favorite of the arms reps. Sure, a lot of you wanted Twin Tail. For reasons. I'm not going to judge any of you. Anyway, on to D tier. First up in D tier is Kazuya. He's basically here for similar reasons of MinMin, of I don't find him fun, but one, at least he is somewhat fun. I have actually enjoyed a few matches as Kazuya, compared to 0 as MinMin. And secondly, he's a third-party character, so at least he has that going for him. Definitely not the choice I would have wanted for a third-party character. From a fighting game, even. I don't really care for Tekken or fighting game characters in general. I think fighting game characters in Smash just don't work well, and you'll hear repeated sentiments for Terry, so I'll probably just refer you guys back to Kazuya. Because the problem is, they're just slow, and feel way too heavily reliant on their combos. Compared, and have way too many command inputs. No, you do not need 50 of them, Kazuya. You do not. Like, 10 is more than enough. 50 is excessive. Like, if you're gonna give a character extra moves, please do it in a way that doesn't require me learning a bunch of random button inputs. Like, extra moves, the best way to do them, I think, is things like a taunt move, which Kazuya also has! Or the Pyra and Mythra and Pokemon Trainer style of just switching to a different character. Because at least then, you don't have to learn button inputs. They're the same ones you're used to. Just fun. And good. Next up, Terry Bogard. Hey, did you just see my complaints about fighting game characters? Well, they're the exact same here, just Terry has a lot less command inputs than Kazuya, and Terry still feels close enough to being in Smash where I can give him a bit of leeway. Honestly, if you remove the command inputs and found another way to give him some of those moves, I could definitely see him being at least C tier. Because he has, at least he is quite quick for a fighting game character. It's more of just a general problem I have with fighting game characters in Smash, and my philosophies with what is a good idea for a Smash character. I just, hence why I think Little Mac is awful, and one of the worst decisions they've made. Not because I have anything against Little Mac. I've actually played through Punch-Out Wii, and I do quite like it. It's a great game. And worth the $20 on the Nintendo eShop on the Wii U. The problem is, Smash is a game heavily focused on aerial combat. In a character that can't fight in the air. You see the problem with these characters that have so much of a focus on grounded combat. And also 8 billion different moves. It's more of just fighting game characters have a very different philosophy to their design than what I think a Smash character should have in their design. Which is entirely personal preference, and I'm willing to admit that, and yeah. Next up, Banjo and Kazooie, a character that would be on equal footing with Min if it wasn't for the fact that they were my second most wanted newcomer. Yeah, I'll be entirely honest. Banjo's biased. He sucks. I hate playing as him. He isn't fun. But also, I really wanted Banjo and Kazooie in this game. I will keep saying this. Going into Ultimate, the characters I wanted to see, back when we were still referring to this as Smash Switch, were Inkling, Banjo and Kazooie, and insert character we'll see later. Yeah, they're also in this game now. But Banjo, yeah, is entirely being held up by the fact that he is both a DLC character from a third-party company, and it's also a character I really wanted to see in the game. But overall, he kinda sucks. He isn't fun, which, again, kind of an important thing in fighting in characters. They should be fun. If you're gonna make a game, please make it so the characters are actually fun. Just a tip, and just a personal thought. I think it should be fun. And Banjo, sadly, is not. Really, I just hate projectile characters and zoners in general, so Banjo was screwed from the start. Next up is C tier, with Byleth, a character I kind of wanted to put in B, but I know people hate him. And he definitely was... and this rating in C tier is basically just entirely I think Nintendo did a horrible job of finishing Fighters Pass 1 with him. If he were anywhere else in the past, I could easily see him getting into B. But it's more just that's the kind of problem I have with him. He happens to just fit into the game unluckily. And in an awful spot. But he is incredibly fun. C tier is basically just the fun sorties tier. So expect to see I think every sword character that is added in Ultimate is in this tier. So, but he's incredibly fun, and I don't get the complaint that, oh, he's just a generic swordsman. Like, Byleth is by far the most creative Fire Emblem character in the game next to Robin. Because he uses 3, or I guess 4, of the hero's relics from 3 houses. And honestly, that alone makes him stand out. It gives him enough of a unique tool set that can let him stand out. I think the worst of the 4 is Amir, just because slow moves kind of suck. But I also think it is one of the better slow moves in the game. And that's what I think he has going for him. He genuinely is quite unique for a swords fighter, since he almost exclusively uses other weapons that aren't his sword. And it just happens to be his main weapon that he uses for most of his generic attacks. But at that, his sword is also a whip. How do people think he's generic? Whip sword, lance, axe, and bow. I don't get it. I don't get the complaint. Speaking of generic sword fighters, Sora. I'm sorry. I don't get why people were so excited for him. The most exciting thing about that final Smash Direct was the Doom Guy Mii costume. Like, I genuinely don't get why people hate on Byleth for being a generic sword fighter. Well, Sora is exactly that. Almost all of his moves come from other characters. To the point of Sakurai even pointed them out, like, Byleth doesn't have a counter, and he's a generic sword fighter, and Sora, who has a counter, steals moves from Link, Pikachu, and Hero. No, he's generic. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, look, I know it sounds like I'm being ranty. I'm genuinely happy for all the people who wanted to see Sora in the game. And that's a lot of people. I think almost everyone I've seen on the internet requesting Smash characters has requested Sora. And I'm impressed Nintendo were actually able to get him in. I have very few, like, this character can never get in Smash, which belong to characters that aren't from video games. And then Sora. Sora was the exception because he's owned by Disney. Like, I'm sorry, I did not see Disney willing to compromise with Nintendo. Ever. It is just something I don't believe possible. We're talking about a company that is notoriously greedy and would definitely have sold their creator's soul to the devil to make profit. So, it's more of just I'm surprised Sora even managed to make it in due to legal reasons. And I don't have much to say on his gameplay because, well, I haven't played him. He isn't out yet. But from my first impressions and the Sakurai reveal trailers, he looks kinda boring. Sephiroth! The character announced at the Game Awards to, I think, applause? I don't know. I'm really not that big of a fan of Final Fantasy. And I kind of wish they went with a character that wasn't from Final Fantasy VII. It's not anything about me disliking Final Fantasy VII. I just know there's a lot of games in the series, and that they specifically only represent 7. There isn't a single piece of media in Smash Ultimate, or Smash 4 for that matter, that isn't Final Fantasy VII. No Miis, no PNGs, no nothing. Like, they're all Final Fantasy VII, which, I don't know. Like, I don't really care. Sephiroth is, again, just ends up feeling a bit generic in the generic sword fighter tier. Who would have thought? Like, I like all these characters, by the way. Like, everyone in C tier plus I can actively enjoy playing, and if I'm just doing, like, a casual match against someone, I will probably pick them. Because I like all of them. But, of course, that is before acknowledging I find him, honestly, quite fun, but not revolutionary. Which, I don't need a revolutionary character as Smash DLC. I just need to be able to enjoy them. They don't need some game-breaking mechanic. Hell, I think Sephiroth would be just as fine without the one-winged angel state. It really doesn't matter that much, if that makes sense. Because as long as they're fun is literally the only criteria this list has. Are you fun? If yes, then why? If no, then fix yourself. Speaking of Square Enix JRPG protagonists, Hero. Honestly, I quite like Hero for what he is. Horribly unbalanced, for Smash Ultimate standards at least, RPG character that is nearly exclusively reliant on RNG. Which, he's from an RPG, I'm honestly surprised RNG mechanics aren't as big as Smash they are, as considering how many freaking characters we have from that genre. And I really don't mind. He is fun. My biggest complaint is command selection sucks. Like, I'm not gonna go over a few of the problems with it. One, it requires reading. Which, problem, you have to read in the middle of a fast-paced game. Two, if you're appearing at an international tournament, which I know this is a bit of a weird gripe, considering I'm not a tournament player, but it's a big deal, I think. If you're at an international tournament, then slight problem. If they don't have your native language set as the language in Smash, you don't know what spells you're performing. Which, really, like, this could have been fixed with an easy thing. Like, you could have just put an icon next to them. And said icon would resolve both my issues of reading, as then you can just quickly register the icon instead. Or end the issue of international play. And lastly, he just feels slow. You end up spending a lot of time casting spells, which, again, I like Hero for what he is. A luck-based RNG character. I like him for that. Do I like Hero as a character? Kinda. I like him for what he is. I'll give him that. He's great at his job. But that's really all he's good at. Like, he's fine for a sword character. He's pretty great for a character that's relying on RNG. The only problem is he's relying on RNG in a skill-based game. Which is a bit of a problem. I think that's the best way to put it. He has its flaws, but he's great for what he is and what he's supposed to be. Which I think is all a character needs to be. Fun, and they're good at their job. What they are, as a character, meant to be. But they don't have to be the best at everything. Next up, the character who should never be out at night, Steve. God, did I just reference a, 10-year-old music video parody of a song I have never heard, yet have nostalgia for, solely because of Minecraft. It's more of a, it's impressive that there is a Minecraft character in this game. Nothing else. I genuinely love Minecraft as a game. It's probably the game I have the most hours in overall. Because I have, I think, almost 300 hours on the Switch version. And, that's just the Switch version. I played a ton of the mobile version. I played a good chunk of it on my Xbox 360 and Wii U as well. So, yeah. The only problem with it, and this is a big problem, Steve is campy. He spends so much of his time just going somewhere and stalling out, which isn't fun. You shouldn't be focused on stalling your opponent to death. Like, genuinely, if he gets a stock, he can practically infinitely keep himself alive solely through his neutral B. That's really the only problem with him. The block placing ability, along with a few other moves in his toolkit, make him ridiculously slow. Despite not being a character with really any ranged attacks, he ends up falling victim to the same problems characters like Banjo and Kazooie and Samus fall to. He's campy and boring. Look at this gameplay. Who are you cheering for? The Little Mac or the Steve? The person who's actually doing stuff? Or the person who's camping? Personally, I'd go for the Little Mac. Piranha Plant. The character that made me utterly scream in pure confusion. The plant who knows how to move somehow, and is the weirdest Mario character to add into this game, and is oddly fun for a character with a good amount of projectiles. Yeah, I am surprised how much praise there is for a character with, like, what? 2 projectiles, and one of them is an incredibly competent one that really covers almost all options the opponent can get in several scenarios, including neutral. I don't know, that just seems like it'd be a bit overpowered. But Piranha Plant's just fun. It's one of those characters where you can kind of just move around and attack. And he's quick, has a good recovery, has pretty good aerials, and I think one generally decent projectile on a character is fine. Their moveset isn't dominated by it. If it has its drawbacks, which I think Fatui does, it has some pretty bad frame data. You are stuck in it for a good amount of time after you initiate it and then throw it. I genuinely think it's decent. And I think Piranha Plant himself covers so many different playstyles that most people can at least find him enjoyable. If you like a projectile character, you have Patui and your Vomit. If you like getting up close and personal, he's a character for you. Overall, Piranha Plant's generally an all-rounder, maybe with a bit more of a focus on projectiles than normal. Never see him coming. Your mind is your last surprise. You're done in. Joker. A character that when he was revealed, both me and everyone I knew was like, hell. I literally told a few people I knew who were cared about Smash that Joker just got announced, and they were like, you mean the Batman villain? And here's the thing. I think Joker is the best Smash edition objectively. Why is he not S tier? Well, there's a character I like playing as more. But I would have never gotten into Persona if it wasn't for Joker's inclusion. Because I had never even heard of the series before then. Nor would I have ever even considered trying it. But Joker being introduced made me look at Persona and be like, huh, what's this? And then I was like, you know what, screw it. I have a PlayStation 3 around. The game looks good. I'll play it. 100 hours later, this is the best decision of my life. I need to play this again. Oh, there's a sequel. And then I played through Strikers. And then bought a PlayStation 4 and played through Royal. And then played through Persona 4 Golden. And then proceeded to buy both Q2 games, which I've never even opened. I might have a problem. But the point stands, that problem never would have started if Joker didn't get revealed. Not to mention, Mementos is my favorite stage in the game. I just love its layout. And Joker introduces amazing music. And the only music I think should be added in Smash that is missing, aside from Life Will Change, I understand. Whims of Fate, I could definitely see increasing the game's age rating, which they would want to avoid. And then songs from the newer entries in the series obviously didn't exist yet. So overall, I understand it. With one exception, Life Will Change. How did that not make it into Smash? Like, Wake Up, Get Out There is in the game. Okay, that's chill. It isn't even in Royal, but the song that's in all of these games, I don't get it. Just weird. But overall, Joker is still incredibly fun. Introduced me to my favorite series of all time. And I'm saying that while only playing 2 entries and a spin-off. And honestly, Persona 5 alone is a game that means so much to me that Joker's inclusion and introduction to me of said franchise just automatically ranks him to second place. And if I didn't want every tier to be covered, he would be an S tier. Like, basically, the only reason he isn't an S tier is I wanted there to be a character in each tier. And there's really not a single character I could rank up from any of these tiers, aside from Joker. So, he had to go in A tier, more just because of an arbitrary rule I made, which arguably shouldn't have been made. But either way, it's a ranking video. Who cares? And my most wanted character for Smash Ultimate, Pyra and Mythra. Which is technically a lie. My most wanted character for Smash Ultimate was Rex, who would have stood in the background like Pokemon Trainer, and then you would swap between Pyra and Mythra and potentially a third blade such as Rock or Catalyst. But, well, yeah, this is basically exactly what I wanted, just without the middleman, which arguably works better considering Pyra and Mythra have had a driver other than Rex, and will have a driver after Rex. So, like, this basically means they could exist during the time period of Torna. Instead of 2, which is incorrect, both basically by the fact Pyra exists and can freely swap between Mythra, which is not a thing they can do during Torna, as Pyra is yet to be created, because old flashback. And secondly, the core crystal on their chest is damaged, which only happens during a very early point in the story of Xenoblade 2. I've actually made videos. Well, I'm actually debating making videos on basically when do these characters get taken into Smash. From what time in their game. So, like, when does Joker end up in Smash? Because, judging by the party, I can guesstimate a period between a few dungeons where it could be the case. And then with Pyra and Mythra, I have a very small period I honestly think they would be in. And I want to ask about Shulk, because he'd be an interesting one to figure out. It's something I would love to make a video on. I don't know if you guys would care. But Pyra and Mythra were my most wanted characters in this game. They are literally my main. And, of course, my main is going to be top tier. Like, they're literally who I play as online. They are the character I use, and I believe I'll continue to use for a while. And if they're in the next Smash game, they'll definitely be who I gravitate towards. And I have a problem with characters like Mythra, who are really fast, because I always find a problem, they struggle with killing. You have Pyra. She solves that exact problem. And despite Pyra being heavier than Mythra, it's by so little, it's really not like, crap, I'm at a high percent, I should switch to Pyra so I can last a little longer. Yeah, it will make like 0.5% of a difference. Their weights are barely different. Mythra is 2 values later. But overall, they're just a character I really wanted to see get into this game. So, of course, they're going to be high up. Next up is Smash 4 with the D tier being Ryu. I'm going to make this quick because he shares all of my complaints with Kazuya and Terry. In my opinion, he's basically a mix of those two. I have no strong feelings against him, and I think it's logical that he's in the game. I just don't give a crap about fighting game characters in Smash Ultimate. In the C tier, the character that completely ruined the competitive scene of Smash 4, Bayonetta. Don't you love her? Don't you hate her? Don't you have no positive feelings towards her in Smash 4? And honestly, Smash Ultimate Bayonetta is just worse Smash 4 Bayonetta. Because the problem is, Smash 4 Bayonetta is Bayonetta. This is how she is. It just doesn't convince that well to being balanced. That's more of just a general problem with balancing, especially with the final DLC characters, since the balance patches always come on DLC character releases compared to anything else, but overall, I think Bayonetta is quite good and fits her role as Bayonetta well. The C tier entirely consists of returning characters, so we're going to move on. Smash 4 Cloud. I actually really like playing as Cloud. He's a character I love playing as an Ultimate. And that's honestly all I have to say. Cloud fun. Cloud go burr. He's quite fun, and the biggest complaints with him are Square is Square and refuses to let Nintendo do anything cool. And honestly, I think his Final Smash is kinda lame. But he's also just fun to play, so I give him that. Finally, my original main in Smash Ultimate and my main in Smash 4. Corrin. Who would have thought my main is the one who gets the top of the list? Again. Again. Look, I'm sorry, but that's just how this works. It's gonna be my main. And I find Corrin incredibly fun. Generally, they have a great air game, have my favorite counter in the series, sending upwards, have some pretty good mix-up potential with their side B, and honestly, an incredible projectile. It's not one that dominates their kit, but it's a great way to counter projectiles, actually. I've found that if you play correctly and can charge your projectile up as they're charging theirs up, you can actually block their projectile using your projectile. And if it's something as weak as a Fox Laser, just quickly tap it once. Overall, it's actually a pretty good way to get around those. And overall, I quite like it. It's not the best, but it's fun. Corrin is fun. I have very few problems with them, and they have a lot of options in their albeit small kit. And that's what I like about them. They're simple, but they're a character that requires a lot of skill to use properly. Said skill that someone who's mained Corrin since his release in Smash 4 doesn't have. And it's always nice to be able to improve with a character and not just be good because of the character being overpowered. A character who is overpowered and easy to learn isn't good. Corrin isn't overpowered. They are pretty good, but they just require a lot of skill to use correctly. And I think that's what really matters. You have that potential. You just need to use it. And I think every character should have that. A low skill ceiling where if you are good, where if you're not good, you can still play and enjoy them. But a high skill ceiling where if you can master them, you can play incredibly. And here's the final tier list, featuring every character from Smash 4 and Ultimate, rearranged a little, and in order. So that means on the left is the best character from that tier. In my opinion, on the right is the worst. But let's just remember, everyone in C tier and up is fun. And I have bought the DLC for both Smash 4 and Ultimate. All of it except for Mii costumes for Smash Ultimate, which I intend to get. And I don't really regret spending any of that money. Mostly because it wasn't mine, but still. I think all these characters are worth it, because no matter what, I still got enjoyment out of them. Even if they're MinMin. Specifically, everyone that isn't MinMin. But also, Fighter's Pass. So it's not like I actually paid for MinMin. I paid for everyone in the Fighter's Pass except for MinMin. Like how my least favorite character in Fighter's Pass 1 is actually Terry, surprisingly. And I technically didn't pay for Terry. Because basically, Fighter's Pass are priced where if you buy the Fighter's Pass instead of each individual fighter, you'll actually save the price of one fighter. So Fighter's Pass 1 has 5 characters, and it's the price of 4 characters. And then Fighter's Pass 2 has 6 characters, and is the price of 5 characters. Honestly, if you're going to buy all the DLC, it's a good deal. Thank you for watching this stupidly long video, and the first video of talking about Sora, technically. There will probably be another talking about Ultimate in the near future, which hopefully won't take me an entire day to edit. I hope. Also, try something new. All the Smash footage is from tournaments. I think you can tell where they're from, because they were basically the first Smash slot after I typed in Smash Ultimate Tournament, and then the character name, and at that, they all put branding on them, so. If you want to find the originals, it shouldn't be too hard, and if there's enough requests, I will go ahead and link the videos in the description. Anyway, have a good day.